It's preparing to live stream.
Right. There we go.
All right, we're live.
Welcome.
Oh, did he freeze? He froze.
But I hope everybody
Oh, there
week
you
has
go.
been going great
We
so
didn't
far
hear
since the last
you.
time.
We didn't hear you. You froze.
Oh, I froze. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Woo. I got scared. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming back. As always, I hope everybody has had a awesome week so far. Like always, let us know how your week's been in the comments, or in the chat. Um, as you see, we do have a special guest with us today. Um, Special guest, if you will, why don't you introduce yourself, and let people know why you're here today.
Well, thank you for introducing me. Why I'm here is to have a conversation. I like, to get to know your audience, and I want your audience to get to know who I am. My name is Jesse Philippe. I'm running for Congressional District 15 in Florida. That's going to be in the Tampa area, Tampa, Florida. If you've ever been, it's a beautiful city. I mean, suggest your listeners to come down and come visit Tampa because it's awesome. A little bit about me is essentially I'm a young, well, I was a young kid raised here, and for me, what I saw is that, how much our city has changed from being rural and limited to certain resources to growing to a vibrant city, running in the same breath as Miami, Florida. So for us,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we have more to go. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to build on. So I decided to run for the United States Congress because I feel like we need to get the resources to the people and the
Yeah, we
community.
do.
So that's a little bit about myself.
All right. Y'all hear it? Y'all heard it from straight from Mr. Jess's mouth. He's for the people. He's seen something um that needed to be done, change that needed to be made,
Right.
and nobody wanted to step up to the plate. He said, you know what? No one's gonna do it. I'm a, and that's what we need. We need people who are going to step up to the plate. That's going to represent us. That knows some of the issues and struggles that we all face on a regular basis.
Right.
We all go through things. We all have situations, and have somebody in Congress that understands that can help us, pass laws that benefit us, that help us, that you know give us a safety net when we need it.
Right.
So everybody that's tuning in, thank you for tuning in. We like to have candidates on that represent the people. Mr. Jesse is one of those people from Florida, like he said. Um, so with that being said, let's get right into this interview so that people can know more about you and what you represent. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass the mic off to Miss Quest. Take it away.
Take it away. Thank you again for coming on. That's awesome. My first question, since this is Florida, is gonna be involving gun reform.
Yeah.
So, as long as you're 18 in Florida or older, you may carry a concealed firearm or weapon without a concealed weapons permit. So the laws are less than optimal. One of the laws impacting the Black community the most is the Stand Your Ground law. If sent to Congress, what would you like to see added to a gun reform bill that would help your state/district in this fight to reform gun laws?
Um, so gun reform is for me, it's a very personal thing because when I was in high school, I had a friend. I'll never forget his name. His name is Sean. Um, we used to play tonk together all the time, and we wasn't like too close outside of high school, but in high school we always had a good time. playing talk and stuff like that. One time, there was a big fight. In the Black community, when there's a fight, everybody show up.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so after school, it was all at McDonald's at 3 p.m. And, unfortunately, there was the fight got to the point it got too serious. And, and someone decided to take out a gun and shoot into the crowd. It injured 3 people and it killed my friend Deshaun. And so gun reform is personal for me because for me, I grew up around it. I saw the damage it did. I saw the damage it did in our community, our school. And I got to see it personally. One of the things that I want Congress to do and what I want to present into Congress is gun legislation so that we can have more stringent background checks for people to stop people from obtaining weapons that ultimately hurt people. It's not just that. I mean, that's one step of it. The second step is we need to focus on mental health. Mental health is the biggest issue and the biggest factor that affects many people, from gun violence to any type of violence. The people who were raised in single family homes or watched their mom get beat as they grew older. It's all mental health issues. What I want to do is pass a mental health bill that fund these communities so they can have more mental health programs, more after school programs to help, a lot of the minorities in the community. These are the things that I think would help, bring change. So for me, that's what I would do when I get to Congress.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah. It's like, people of color are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder just from living where they're living, and we don't even know it. Don't even know it. My next question. Florida is one of the most vulnerable regions in the country to the impacts of climate change. There are cities that consistently fail to meet the EPA air quality standards set by the American Lung Association. More often than not, there's a disproportionate number of Black and Brown and low-income people living in those particular cities. The highest rates of asthma and lung cancer come from those places. When you are sent to Congress, what impact can you have in any legislation concerning environmental racism and climate injustice?
I think I'm a big supporter of Alexander Ocasio-Cortez Green New Deal plan because I believe it rewrites, the way we see our economy. I believe that the environment and our economy is one and the same. And for me, I was watching recently this past weekend on TV, the Black Wall Street, the Tulsa. And I saw, how vibrant the African American community was and how much you can do when you have the resources there. Right now, our economy is based on fossil fuel, from the things that we buy, from the cars, from just basic lights in your home, are run on fossil fuel. We have to redesign what we see America to be, and it's a clean energy. In the same time, when we do that, we have to think of an economy that's driven to reshape the landscape of our African Americans and minorities and communities. By doing that, we can tackle 2 things: fix our climate and reinvest in our community. And I believe that that's what the Green New Deal does, that AOC presented. It allows us to reinvest in our environmental duties, responsibilities to our planet, and it allows us to right a lot of the wrongs, economic wrongs that were done to the minority community. And I believe we do that by reinvesting in our infrastructure, reinvesting in, more tax credits for African Americans to get electric vehicles because they're still not affordable for most African American homes.
Right.
We can do plenty of things so they can help minorities, especially one of the biggest things here in my district is housing. So building green homes for individuals, and if we're gonna knock down and gentrify our communities, at least make sure we have the the minority economic mindset in place, and also the environmental impacts in place.
Right.
So that's a big question. And I'm trying to
Yeah, no, it is a
sum it
big
up, but,
question, because, as people of color, we really don't think about like the climate and the environment as in collaboration with racism. You know what I mean? It's like we had this discussion, I think last week, where, during heat waves, Black people are vulnerable, brown people are vulnerable, low income people are vulnerable because you're living in the bricks, you're living in the projects, right? There are no trees, there are no parks, there are no cooling stations, there are no pools. So you're susceptible to heat strokes, heart attacks, asthma. So a lot of the conditions that we're dealing with probably aren't even something it's it's in your DNA or you have the propensity to have like this or to have colon cancer. No, it's the conditions in the environment you're building. Black people and brown people living near highways and wastes and dumping sites, like it's killing us, so something has to be done.
Fumes and
Yeah.
different bacteria from from waste products and things like that are seeping into the water, in
Right.
the air. If you're living by it, you may get on your clothes, like little things like that. Like you said, a lot of people may not think about that affect your well-being, your overall health. Maybe
Right.
because you have a case of, a certain disease in your family, maybe contributed to the fact that, because Black families don't have the ability to frequently get up and move over generations, you being inhaling, toxic gas from the factory that's down the street, or in certain rural areas,
Right.
you have places, slaughterhouses,
Yeah.
where they dump dead bodies in the back of it. And people really don't talk about that because that's not something that's known. But if you go down to these places, that affects, again, your health, your well-being, your mental state.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree.
Imagine the
I'm
schools. That's
oh
I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna go there with asbestos and everything else that's probably hiding in some of those older schools.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
that's a big issue,
Right. Right.
especially in Florida. We rank 47th in state resources to our school system, which is it's one of the saddest things that I think you can ever do to a minority community. I went
Right.
to all minority high schools, minority middle schools, and I didn't understand the disparity between where I grew up and where, counterparts. After I went to law school, I went to affluent schools,
Right.
and the disparities it's real. And the amount I was at a meeting one time, I think it was a board meeting. They were arguing, should we put AC in a minority classroom? AC
Wow.
system now. And this is like, for me, I'm like, that's a joke. That shouldn't even be a conversation.
Right.
But well, they got to be fiscally responsible. That's their biggest thing. But it's sad what they're doing in our public education system in Florida.
My God, yes, it really is. Well, I mean, it's not even just Florida, but
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be fixed.
Mhm.
My last question. Let's talk DeSantis.
Yeah, we all had to put our head down on that
Like,
one.
yeah. We were having fun. Why do we have to go there? Right. Anyway, so DeSantis's agenda includes a ban on trans athletes, voter restrictions, ban on abortions. He's in essence legalizing vehicular homicide because he's saying, hey, it's okay to run over protesters like with your vehicle. Yeah, you just get a slap on the wrist if you do that. As long as they're BLM protesters, we got you covered.
Mm-hmm.
And actually criminalizing protesting. Again, BLM, Antifa, the bad guys.
Okay.
So with this going around in Florida and around other states, but we're talking specifically about Florida, what is your vision for a better Florida, for the future of Florida? What do you see for Florida?
This is a vision of mine that, I'm running here on a congressional level, but one of my ultimate goals is to see Florida connected. I believe that our infrastructure is a big problem here in Florida. We are growing at a pace extremely fast, and we don't have the infrastructure built to help support that.
Right.
When I look at infrastructure, I think it's the biggest thing that addresses a lot of the needs in our communities and minorities too. There's still many kids who don't have access to laptops.
Yeah.
There's still many kids who have access to internet in the minority community. And we need to build infrastructures to support them. And DeSantis, I put my head down on him because the reality is he's a prototypical guy that says, hey, I'm a politician. Whatever I got to say, whatever I got to do to get elected for whatever next office I'm running for, that's what I'm going to say.
Right.
And one of the things that I always made a promise to myself was I won't be that guy. It's like when I have this dream of going to Congress because I believe that our community needed help. Once my job is done, my job is done. It's time to move on. It's time to go get a 9 to 5. It's time to invest in our community for our kids are in high school, elementary school, put a vision in their head so that they can bring their visions to what they see the country as. That's what I think the idealistic America should be. And that's what I think that Florida should be. It should be one that leans forward. It should be more progressive in how we help our youth. I mean, for me, I speak a lot about the youth because unfortunately the youth drives what we will do in our communities. And I see a lot of African American youth in particular because I'm African American, so I relate more. I see that we're abandoning them. I see some of the policies that are passing in the state are just finding more ways to separate the rich and the poor class. And I think that's a big issue. I think that our state needs to move back into where the community controls it. The community comes in, makes policies to help the whole community. Right now, we're moving into a state that the rich control what we do. And the rich, last time I checked, are always focused on their own pockets and their own personal needs.
Right.
And not focused on the community as a whole. So for me, one of the biggest issues that I think we need to address in Florida is how do we get our community back into the government? And that's what my main focus is.
Nice. That's nice. Well, those are all my questions, and I'm just going to take a pause. Everyone out there, everyone in the chat, make sure you guys give a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video right now because people, we're halfway done. People may be missing Mr. Jesse in this great interview. I was asked today, before I pass it on to Casey, on Twitter, someone was basically saying, why would you support a candidate who's not in your district or who's miles away?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we have to support all of our candidates. We have to push you guys over the finish line. If you have a primary, whoever comes out the primary, that is who we have to support. But it's a grassroots movement and it's across the country. It is not just your state. We have to help Florida. Florida is big. We have to help Texas. We have to help Georgia. There's so many seats that we are able to flip, and we can't do it unless we're all working together. So everyone, Jesse is going to give you his information at the end of the show. Join the campaign, chip in what you can. It's imperative because that is why we cannot pass voting, the voting bill right now. We can't pass infrastructure. We can't even pass George Floyd. We can't pass anything right now. This is ridiculous. We need a supermajority. And it's on you, Casey.
Yeah, no, you said it. I couldn't have said it better. I agree with everything. Please, everybody, it doesn't matter where you are. If you can help, we got it. We have to get the right people in place. We have to get eyes and ears on people that represent us. I'm tired of people representing corporations getting paid in white envelopes because it's not Manila no more because it's out in the open. So they're getting this stuff mailed first class. I'm tired of that. I want someone that represents us, that represent our interests. I have a family just as well as the rich people. You hear people talking about, oh, we care about life and kids, this, that, and the third. I have kids as well. We all do. Where's our support system? Big corporations get tax cuts. We don't get tax cuts. We get taxed even more. So anyway, we we like to have people that represent people on the show.
Right.
So with that being said, I will get into my couple questions. Um, so this is, of course, my first question. Um, being of Haitian descent, and from Florida, having a large Haitian population, and recently Haitian immigrants have been being deported back to Haiti. Um, with this knowledge, um, how will you educate or inform the people of Florida about immigration reform and how that can benefit not only the state, but the citizens as well?
I think for me, the best way to highlight the power of immigration and why we need a reform is to tell my story about my mother. My mom came from Haiti. She was 19 years old and she had me. She had no education. She didn't have a high school diploma. And she relied on the system to help her when she first got here, the first 2 or 3 months. But what made her story so awesome is because when she did not use that to deter her that she didn't know English, she went, got her GED, learned English, worked her way up, became a CNA, worked her way up, became a licensed practical nurse, worked her way up
Wow.
and become a registered nurse, and worked her way up to get her 4-year college degree as a registered nurse. That my mom's story is one example of many of different people from different backgrounds. Could be Haitian, could be Cuban, could be Dominican, Puerto Rican, it can be Nigerian, could be from all parts of the world. That the same story is this: America is America of diversity. There's no one here that's native to America.
Right.
We all have different heritage where we come from. But one thing that we believe in one America, one voice. And how we address this issue of immigration is very simple. Look in the mirror.
Right.
Look at your heritage. See where you came from. Look where you're at now.
Right.
Now, the phrase that I love the most is by I'm going to say his name, Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington says, "Reach one, teach one." If we all have that message, reach one, teach one. If we all open our arms up to the immigrants that are coming to this country and say, "Hey, this is our path forward. This is what America stands for," I believe that we will be a stronger America, a more diverse America, and an educated America. Look how important diversity is. I mean, if you look at Biden's um, his cabinet, it's the most diverse cabinet
Right.
in United States history.
Right.
But look how they're fixing the needs of the country, because
Right.
they see it from different perspectives. They see it from Black, they see it from white, they see it from the immigrant, and that's what we need. And that's what we need in Florida. We need to influx our state capital with immigrants,
Yeah.
so we can start addressing the immigrant needs and the needs of Florida.
Right.
I agree, and just having, like you said, diversity and just a different way of thinking, of looking at a
Right.
situation, bringing maybe some of the things that you may have learned in your home country here that may benefit and work a little better, just having that diverse. I love it, and I definitely agree with that. My second question. Um, uh, Florida becoming the eighth state, with Governor DeSantis signing into law the anti-trans ban, and you being a champion for the LGBTQ plus community, when elected or if elected, what will and can you do to help that community get the rights, and issues addressed?
I look at that community, the LGBTQ plus community, as a community that's being discriminated against. How do we help? It's just, I think it goes to what I said earlier, by having them have a conversation, a voice in the room, to be in the conversation. What what Ron DeSantis did was politics. He said, "Hey, I know that I have a facet of my party that's racist or bigotry and who loves that stuff. So let me go ahead and feed that, so I can get some campaign dollars." And that's what I'm saying. His focus is now on the community.
Right.
LGBTQ plus community. It's a diverse community within itself. And the fact that we're not having them in the conversation is a problem. There shouldn't be no conversation or discussion if someone who identifies themselves as another sex should have the ability to play. Right. Why are we telling our children what they can do before they even develop who they are? Right. We're supposed to be the guidance counselor for our children to help them progress into becoming adults for this society. And what society are we saying that you're different from us, so we're going to treat you differently? Because what have we technically moved away from Jim Crow? Because that's what Jim Crow was. Right. And we're essentially doing it against another group, and we do it, and we have a history and a pattern of not addressing and allowing different people in the community to be a part of our community. And they're there. They have a voice. So for me, I believe that was politics, and I believe the best way to fix that is to get more LGBTQ plus people in government. We have Pete Buttigieg right now, who's doing a great job at the Department of Transportation. But that's just one person. We need more and more LGBTQ plus, people to be involved in the community. So and I use the word community as to refer as the country. So.
No, that's what it is. That's what it is. Everybody has a voice. Like you said, it shouldn't matter, what you do behind closed doors with your partner. That doesn't matter. What matters is how can we solve these issues? How can we make sure that there's a $15 minimum wage? How can we make sure to help people who are homeless? What you do behind closed doors doesn't affect the issues that matter. It's sorry about that. People calling. They know I'm doing the show. People, I'm doing the show. Y'all see, don't call. Please. See, they still calling. But yeah, so let me get on to my next question. Here we go. The 2020 edition of the National Low Income Housing Coalition cites that there are 26 affordable housing units for every 100 extreme low income renter. Extreme low income is someone who's paying 0 to 30% of the area's income median, meaning 89% of extreme low income are classified as cost burden, meaning they have to pay more than 30% or more strictly for living. Like they're paying majority of their check just to live. You have 79% who are paying, 79% and more just for housing, just to live in a house. As a proponent of affordable housing, when elected, what can you do to help fix that situation?
Affordable housing is an issue that HUD was supposed to address a long time ago. Housing of urban development. I'm a big history guy, and for me, I look at the history of why are we in the situation. Most minorities are in the situation they're in, and when it comes to housing, and a lot of people don't realize African American in our country almost had 100-year late start. Mm-hmm. And that 100-year late start, what caused it was a lot of African Americans not understanding, credit, not understanding the value of having a home. You know, and this is not a blanket statement to African Americans. There are some who understood the process, but for the vast majority of them, that education system wasn't taught to them when they first started. You know, it was not something that was prevalent in the communities. And if it was taught, they didn't have the resources to do it anyway, because the jobs they were getting were crumbs, and the money they were getting were crumbs, and they wouldn't be able to afford a house. I say all that to sit there and say that the federal government has to get involved, because we can't ignore the history and try to solve a problem. You have to understand what the history comes from to solve this problem. So what we need to do is find more stimulus to African Americans in these minority communities to help them get the ability to access credit, and not only to access credit, but also give them the resources to put money down on a first-time home, put resources in to lowering the requirements, certain quotas, I would say dollar amounts, to be able to afford a home. These are all things that systematically are problems. We have to address it. We need banking reform, because most of these banks control the loans that these African Americans get. Right. So if we don't have banking reform, what are we talking about? Because at the end of the day, the banks are the ones who are deciding who gets a home, who doesn't get a home. And if a bank's going to decide who gets a home, who doesn't get a home, that's a problem. Because having a home is, I don't know, for me, when I come to inside my house, I don't care if it's a one-room shack. For me, I want to feel like this is my one-room shack. And most people right now don't feel that way, because they have to rent. They're like, this can be taken from me at any time. And especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people realize that. So what are we doing as a government? We need to give access to credit. We need to give stimuli to minority communities, because they had 100 years. I mean, we were late 100 years. So how do we do that? There's been people who stated that we should reparations. So my take on reparations is that is something that we can do, not in a sense where it's we're giving out money, right, to our government, but in a sense of, hey, we're going to buy this sum of land, we're going to build houses on it, and we're going to make it affordable for African Americans to come in that community. That to me is a type of reparation. Right. It's not, it's not about giving money. It's about, okay, how do we get African Americans, minorities who are 100 years behind everyone else, to the same playing field. Right. So that's what the government needs to address. That's what I'll address when I'm in Congress, is making sure that we pass bills that can help us narrow the gap between us and other cultures and diversities.
Yeah. I agree. Housing is very, very important. Like you said, that was supposed to have been handled, over these last 4 years. Unfortunately, somebody was asleep at the wheel the whole time. And I mean that figuratively and literally. He didn't do anything to help fix or address the issues that face, Black and brown communities. And he wasn't
put there to help. He was put there to destroy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody that was
search and destroy mission.
Exactly.
Or seek and destroy.
But we definitely need people in these positions that understand what's going on. Again, housing is very important. There's a big homeless problem, and a lot of the issues that you talked about here today are interconnected. Whether it's dealing with healthcare or housing or infrastructure, all these different issues are intertwined, and we need people not only at the local level, but at the federal level, in the House and the Senate, that understand these issues and be like, you know what, we have to get these addressed right now. If we want, if we're always talking about the kids are our future, there won't be no future if everybody's sick. Because there's plants that's polluting the air and polluting the water, and bringing the greenhouse gases and making all this, global warming and all this climate change. That affects infrastructure, because now we have to worry about that. We can't focus on the bridges, things that need to, that can create jobs. So anyway, I won't get into that. That's all the questions that I have. we are going to get into the lightning round. Getting ready to kind of close out the remainder
Yes.
of the show. So I'm
Yes.
gonna pass the mic off to Miss Quest. What you got? What kind of questions you got for him today?
Yeah, okay. Piece of cake.
All right.
Favorite song to listen to while driving?
I'm a musician, so I listen to everything. So I'm gonna do
One song.
one song.
Favorite song. You about to give me 5 songs? You know about my songs, Mike.
My top 5 are.
Like when you get in your car, what do you like to? Okay, you want me to say genre? You want me to say the genre?
Yes, give me a genre. That works.
Okay, what genre do you want to listen to? Your favorite genre to listen to?
Favorite genre? Oh, no, that's even harder. I'm gonna give you 5 genres. I know I'm breaking the rules, so I'm gonna do that.
Go ahead.
I listen from a lot of hip hop, R&B, a lot of reggaeton. That's the wave right now. And a lot of Haitian music. You know, my mom would kill me if I didn't say Haitian music. Merengue, bachata, salsa, everything. I give you like 7.
You listening to Trick Daddy?
Of course, I'm really from 305.
You know, home of Trick Daddy. You gotta say
love the kids.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Trick Daddy.
Well, yeah, obviously I listen to 305. I listen to Rick Ross, Trick Daddy. Can't even think of the Pretty Ricky.
Nice.
Miami. What else is Miami artist?
Gloria Estefan.
We have Mark Anthony.
All right.
Yes, we have who else we have in the 305? We have Rick Ross. I know Mick Mills from Philadelphia, but he was in the 305 for a little bit.
Okay. Look at you.
Okay.
Very eclectic.
Yeah, I love music. I told you. I can do this all day.
All right. So we're not gonna ask you to sing.
Oh no. I love music, but that's not my thing.
Best advice you've ever gotten.
Best advice I ever gotten. From my mother. She told me education is the most important thing you ever get in your life. And she's absolutely right. Someone said Pitbull. Someone said Pitbull in the chat. Oh, I forgot 3
Oh, Pitbull, yep.
You know,
oh wow! Look at Brent.
Thank you, Brent. We see you, Brent.
That came from a congressional candidate, Brent Heinrich.
Yep, all the way from Washington.
Okay, you know what?
We got the 2 opposite ends. We got Washington and Florida. Let's go.
Yeah.
One more. All right, since we represent Miami, one more peanut butter and jelly. I don't know who came up with it, but you got to put it in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so since we got the best advice you've ever gotten, what was the worst advice?
Worst advice I've ever gotten. Was it? It's actually not the worst advice. I thought at the time when I went to law school, I was like, man, who told me to do this thing?
I know. I could see that.
Yeah. So.
Okay, your favorite vehicle?
Man, I'm a Toyota guy, and it's so bad because my friends tell me like it's a Toyota. Why don't you get a BMW or a Lexus? Like, I don't know, something about that mileage, man. That's
yo. Don't hate on the Toyota, man. The Toyota be popping.
Yeah, man. I love my
Great
Toyota.
Gas mileage. Styling in
your Toyota. Get your Corolla. Keep going.
Yeah, I love that car.
Okay, so you love that car. Fast as you've ever driven it.
Ugh. I think I'm a congressional candidate. I might get in trouble for that.
Okay. Before you put your papers in.
Okay. Well, the fastest I ever driven in a car, I think I went 120 one time.
That's pretty fast.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
When I was younger, I was 17. My nerves ain't there no more. I can't do that. Right. But when I was younger, I used to speed.
Speed demon. So
speed demon.
Do you prefer to write motions, briefs, or conference memos?
I prefer to write none of those stuff.
Now we had to get a legal thing in there.
Yeah. a motion because it's the fastest one to write.
Yeah, get that template and plug it all in.
Exactly. I'm not writing no brief. Be there all day.
That, man, listen, that's a fact. Guilty pleasure.
We're talking about food, right?
Sure.
Well, food would be pizza, because that's how I paid through college. That's how I paid my college, was working at a pizza place.
Wow.
Nice. Nice.
I mean, you're not gonna tell me any other guilty pleasure that we don't have to go there.
Yeah.
Because you said that like you had something else to say. You like,
I know it's a G-rated show, so I was trying to find the G-rated things like pizza and stuff like that.
Something to drink, maybe.
Well, okay, let's see. Drink. I'm big in rum and Coke. Bacardi.
Nice. Okay. Nice. We kept it clean. Nice. We kept it clean, audience. Very good. Yes. Name something you wished you purchased and you didn't.
I wish I purchased and I didn't. That's a good question.
Something you really wanted and you didn't get it.
And I couldn't get it.
No, well, you didn't. Not necessarily that you couldn't. You just didn't.
You know what? My last election cycle, I really wanted to win. A lot of money. There it is, right there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay, name what? Okay, last question. We're gonna wrap it. If you could change any law, legislation, bill, what would it be?
Never had that question posed to me. I believe, one of the biggest things that I think it's the separation between, essentially allowing the education system to be run by the states. I think that we should nationalize our education system. There's no reason why someone from Florida don't have the same education level as someone from Michigan.
Right.
There's no reason why these state governors can spend $30,000 on one student in a minority community, but spend $60,000 in the affluent community. And I believe that that's one of our biggest flaws, as a country. We need to move over to a national education system, and every child gets treated the same.
Oh, that's such a good idea. And you're absolutely right. Like, why is it set up the way it is? Like, Mississippi, they're barely chugging along.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go to, like you said, the affluent places and, like Massachusetts, like here, you get a good education here in Massachusetts. You know what I mean? Even like the charter schools are really good. And then you look at the South, they're like lagging behind in so many things. So
it's all about resources.
Yeah, you're right. Those are my questions.
Nice.
Casey, do you want to close out? Let Mr. Jesse tell where people can reach him, where they can donate at, and all that good stuff.
I do, and I will. But actually, I have one last final question before we actually get into all of that. With everything that we talked about, all the different questions you answered, quick little background. What's the one thing that you would like the voters in Florida to take away? If it was something that you said or something that you couldn't get into tonight, what's the one thing that you want voters to know about you before we close out?
For me, I'm always going to be about putting our community first. I believe that the federal government, state governments, they've gotten to a point in this I'm going to be on my soapbox for 2 minutes. But
no, go right ahead.
The way our political system is set up, people don't even come in the community anymore. All they do is park themselves in a rich neighborhood, say, I will give you this, I will give you that. And this is both parties. This is not Democrat or Republican, this is both parties. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. And all I need is your money so I can keep, being in power. And whatever you want, I will give you. So the biggest issue that I think that's wrong with our government is our government's only speaking to 10% of America. They're not speaking to the 90% of America. who are having a hard time finding a job, but are being told by the government that they're lazy. They're not speaking to the moms who has to go at Walmart to the ramen noodle aisle, which is can't find ramen noodles because everyone's living off it right now
Right.
because of the COVID pandemic. But government saying that everyone's rich and they're affluent. There's no problems in America right now. We've given so many stimulus. We have the 10% of America governing 90% of America. And the biggest takeaway I want people to understand is I would never be a politician who focuses on bringing in money to myself, focused on the needs of a few and not the needs of a whole. For me, when I ran the last cycle, my opponents were saying, oh, he doesn't have that many supporters, because I pretty much self-funded my campaign. I did that on purpose. The reason why I self-funded, because I wanted people to know when you're getting someone in Congress, I'm not answering to anybody else.
Right.
I'm answering to 90% of people of America. So the biggest takeaway I want people to understand is I'm always going to answer to 90%. I'm always going to say community first. I'm always going to say inclusiveness. Everyone needs to be in the conversation. Minorities, affluent, poor, less affluent people, all need to be in this conversation. It can't just be 10% running the country anymore. There's been like that for 200 years, and we're not getting any better. We're getting more divisive. People are getting more scared. People are not knowing what country they're leaving their children, and we need to change that. So that's what I want to leave with people, is that I'm going to work my hardest and fight for that change, no matter what I have to do. If I got to stay up to 2 a.m. in the morning, and we do these interviews at 2 a.m. in the morning, that's what I'm going to do. But that's what you got. You get yourself a fighter. So I'll fight for the 9%.
Hey, you got my vote if I was in Florida.
That's the message that we always push.
Yeah.
He said it the best. I mean, if you're in Florida in the 15th district, this sounds like somebody that you can have represent you, and someone that's actually going to address the issue. He's self-funded. That's one of the things that I always preach. Let's get money out of politics. I'm tired of these corporations, sending white envelopes to these politicians. Why? Because there's a check in with their name on it, fat check. And what does that mean? Anything that company organization wants passed, they gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure they screw over their workers. Cool. You want to try to get a union? Nah, we're gonna stop it. We're gonna make sure we do everything we can to disrupt that. It's cool. Bribery is not bribery. It's legal now. It's cool. Nah, we can't have that, because the situation and the people that matter, the issues aren't getting addressed. The workers that bust their ass, the single moms that have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs just to make sure that their kids have food and a place to live. Like that's not how it should be. Unless you want to work that many jobs, that's fine. But you shouldn't have to work that many jobs just to survive. It should be, I want to do more. I want more money. I want another job. It shouldn't be, I need to work this many jobs out of necessity. It's crazy. You should be able to have a livable minimum wage. All these CEOs, stocks and prices have gone up triple since COVID. I'm not even gonna get to pre-COVID. The top 0.01% have all gotten richer. We need people that's gonna represent us. In Florida, we didn't have 2 people that's trying to represent y'all, man. Come on, y'all see it here firsthand.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done with my rant. Anything you want to add? Any links, websites that people can go to support, donate to your campaign?
Yeah, so my website is jessephilippe.com. It's JESSEPHILIPPE.com. Once again, it's JESSEPHILIPPE.com. There you can donate. We also have a cool thing on our website where you can actually leave a comment. We try to reach back out within a week, 48 hours to a week. You can leave comments and suggestions on there. If you think of any other policies that we can address, we have an open, forum pretty much for that. But once again, yeah, I just want to thank you guys for giving me this platform to speak today. I love this interview because what it did, I love conversations where
Right.
we're focused on that 90% of people. And I
Right.
feel like that's what we did today. And I appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, and we appreciate you and your personal stories. Like I'm sold, and that's what we need. We need us represented in Congress, and that is why we're doing so bad right now, because they're not representing us. We got a bunch of clowns and kooks that anti-abortion, trans, anti anything that's good. They're just they're just trying to take us back to like the 20s. They don't want us to vote. They don't want anything because they're threatened. They're threatened of people like you who are bringing progressiveness back, who cares about the 90%. They're afraid of you. So everyone out there, keep voting, keep helping these candidates. I don't care if they're 500 miles away. We have to help them. $1, $2, $3. They can't do it alone. They're not taking corporate money. It's grassroots. That means they need us. So thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Casey, are we going to close out when we let him go?
Yeah, we'll close. Okay. We'll do a quick closeout.
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you have it.
How'd you guys like Jesse? Awesome. Awesome candidate. Love.
People of Florida, you guys, hey, we didn't have 2 great candidates on the show that care about you. That you come first. You heard Mr. Jesse say it. He cares about the 90%. Yeah. That's us.
Right.
That's you guys, and even though we're not in the state of Florida, I definitely feel that energy. Yeah. So like it's we need people like that. And everything that he talked about, his links, all that stuff will be in the description after the show. So if you wanted to go there and get more information about his platform, because again, we only touched on a couple of issues. He has a variety of issues that he stands for and represents. So if you want to know more about who he is, again, we'll make sure to have his website, donation links, as well as his social media links in the description after the show. As well, I'll make sure to have a link to all our interviews with all our congressional candidates, whether they're for the Senate or Congress. I'll make sure to have a link where you guys can go check that out. Great people, all the people that we've interviewed so far, awesome, great backstories, and most importantly, they represent you. So that's all I got. Anything you want to say to close out?
No, still wear your mask. I don't know. I'm afraid not to wear my mask. Guys, be careful out there. COVID still exists, watch your circle and your bubble, but that's all I got to say. Tomorrow's Friday. Hey.
There it is. That's it. You guys have an awesome weekend, rest of the week and weekend. Please tune in next week. I think it's a regular show, so we'll have some news information for the day for you guys. But with that being said, love you guys. Peace. See you next week.
Bye-bye.